Hello, hello, hello. Sorry about that, everybody. Sorry about that. Oh my god. Uh, yeah, hair is drying at the moment, so that's yeah, just gonna look a little odd. All right, everybody, how we doing? How we doing? Testing, testing, testing. Hello, 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 hello. Yeah, I know. We got some late points. That was not good. Sorry about that. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right. Let's say what? How about we say? What would you guys say? 7 late points. Let's say, you know what? I'll give you 15 because I moved the time as well. I'll give you 15. I'll give you 15. All right. Here, let's do it. Let's do it. We got to pick out some new late point penalties. We got to pick out some new late point penalties. Um, fuck. Yeah, we're behind on the late point penalties. We're running out of them. All right, should be good. Okay, cool, cool. 10 late points towards Bollywood dance. The classic, but no, unfortunately, no, we're not doing that. Here, fuck, we got a lot of late points now. Yeah, you guys could get something good if you want. I did all of this, so all of this is done. So there's no current penalty, so we can cross this off. Do you guys want me to do a late penalty at the moment? You want a late penalty? Bad mic. Hello, hello, hello. Oh fuck. Hello. Testing, testing. Hello, 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 hello. Is the mic any better? The mic any better? Did the mic change? Can anyone confirm or deny? Did the mic change? We're saving our points for the for the Bollywood dance. Now I want that power scaling stream. All right. I mean, yeah, I'll just throw the poll to you guys anyway. Do you want to spend on late points? Mic is the same? Hold on. Hold on. Fuck. Testing, testing. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. The fuck? All right, there we go. Now it should be fixed. Now it should be fixed. Now it should be good. All right, let's get Streamlabs up to 50 real quick because we fixed the mic. Hawkeye better. Thanks a lot. Ashura Zoro isn't Yonko level. Base Luffy did better in the same chapter than him. He said he wanted to knock Kaido down. He couldn't, but Luffy did in the same chapter. This is first. I don't. Zoro scarred Kaido. I don't even know what to say about this. Zoro scarred Kaido. It is insane. This is the scarring thing is not the problem with the scarring and the attempts to underplay the scarring is that it's just stupid because that is no longer a power scaling take. That is basically narrative illiteracy. Okay? Because in the story, it is established that scarring Kaido is a huge deal. It is a big, big, big deal to scar Kaido. Nobody has done it since fucking Odin, and it's been implied that Kaido's been fucking doing a lot of fucking fighting since then. He fucking fought Big Mom for several days right before this, right? Nobody has scarred Kaido. It is a huge, huge, huge deal to scar Kaido. The narrative plays up over and over. Kaido himself talks up how difficult it is to scar him, okay? Yeah, Zoro didn't knock him down, but it is fucking stupid to think that in One Piece, because this actually goes beyond Kaido, in One Piece, right? Unless you have zero reading comprehension, you should understand that characters get knocked down all the fucking time. Scarring characters is narratively a huge deal in One Piece. Oda only writes scars for when extreme damage is done. Scarring is essentially shorthand in the series for that was extreme damage, okay? Like, I don't even know what the fuck to say. Like, just go back through the series and think about scars that have actually happened, right? Mihawk versus Zoro, right? Mihawk versus Zoro, okay? Zoro almost cutting off his own legs. That also leaves a scar, right? Akainu punching through Luffy, scar, right? The Oden and Kaido, right? It is extraordinarily rare for characters to get scars in One Piece. It is always symbolic of extreme damage. And in Wano, Oda doubles and triples down on this by establishing for the reader, God knows how many times, that scarring Kaido is an insane feat. To say that Luffy knocking him down is a bigger feat is just, it's not something worth entertaining because it basically means that you are so far an agenda that you actually want to ignore narrative straight up and then just go with like, well, he knocked him down. It's like, cool. So fucking Whitebeard died standing. Is Whitebeard like, well, I'm dead, but at least they didn't knock me down? No, fuck. Being knocked down or not does not indicate how much damage you're taking. Wait, what the? When did we come up with this new metric? Like, hold on. If that's your criteria, then if the character falls over or not, right? If that's the criteria, then well, first of all, someone should tell fucking Whitebeard, because someone should tell him like, hey, dude, you're okay. You didn't actually get knocked down, so it's actually fine, right? And then by that logic, that means that you think, unironically, that means that you think that in this scene, you think that unironically you believe that nothing happened. You think Zoro took almost no damage here because he didn't fall down, right? Did Zoro fall down? I guess nothing happened. Like actually, it's just but a flesh wound, right? Come on, like just think about it like this, right? Has knocking down ever been the metric of like extreme damage done? Fucking no. Has scars throughout One Piece been established over and over to mean extreme, extraordinary damage done? Yes, right? Unless you're fucking ignoring the rest of the story. In Wano, does Oda reiterate over and over and over again that scarring Kaido is like the tippy top feat that you can do to Kaido? Yes. What more do you fucking want? What more do you want? I don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say. Dumbest argument of all time. Dumbest argument. It's because if you make that argument, you're basically outing yourself as having zero reading comprehension and actually prioritizing power scaling agenda over basic narrative literacy, right? If you don't think Zoro is Yonko level overall because he can't access Ashura easily, that is 100% sane take. That's been shown in the narrative over and over again. But if you want to downplay Zoro scarring Kaido, you have to basically turn your brain off when it comes to reading the story itself. Okay, anyway, let's get back to stuff. All right, continuing on. Hawkeye Better continues on to say, only got one interaction from Ashura and Luffy performed better in the one interaction got in the same chapter. Ashura loses to FDT, Kaido, it is in Yonko level. Yeah, just no more responses to that. I'm sorry, man. I think the knockdown meta, again, someone go wake up Whitebeard because he's not actually dead. He barely took any damage, didn't get knocked down. All right, continuing on. Do you want to spend on late points? Yes, no. All right, we're saving it. To Tier Trivia, thanks for 5. Is he right? Chillax Reed has said Kuma's flashback was emotion signposting, because to be honest, I remember the sort of criticism during Brooks' flashback. What are your thoughts? Kuma's flashback was emotion signposting. I'll be honest, I don't know what that means. Could you elaborate on that critique a little bit? What is FDD, says Tom Tom? Fat Dragon Dick? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that one. Let's get stream likes up to 50 real quick. Let's get stream likes up to 50. Emotion signposting. I mean, I'm just gonna assume that it means something along the lines of like, it tells us to be sad or something like that. Is that what it is? Is that what he's saying? I liked Brooks' flashback. I like Brooks' flashback a lot. I didn't like the first chapter. I mean, Brooks' flashback for what it was. For me, Brooks' flashback, I put it into context of the connective tissue of his first flashback, right? So the second flashback into the first flashback into who he is today. I think if you piece them all together, it paints like a fascinating tapestry of a man. Like, Brook is actually low-key one of the most nuanced characters in One Piece now. You can literally see his transformation as a character between that flashback, the Rumbar Pirates flashback, and who he is today. It's very, very interesting. So I guess the way I view it is neither of his individual flashbacks are like top flashbacks for me in the story personally. I'm sure it is for some people. But even if neither of the individual, like, the way it slots into a story is really beautiful. Flaming Drum Dragon. Yeah, I'm not saying Zoro can cut Flaming Drum Dragon. That's a totally different discussion. I'm not saying Zoro can cut Flaming Drum Dragon, okay? I'm not making that claim. Let's be very, very clear. All right? But I am saying, based off of the evidence he had, yeah, every single interaction Zoro had with Kaido, everything I say is objectively true in this, right? So tell me which part is not objectively true. Zoro had several one-on-one interactions with Kaido, while Kaido is in hybrid form, and one in dragon form. And Zoro got the better of Kaido in each of them, right? Maybe was it 2 in dragon form, 1 in normal form? Anyway, Zoro had several one-on-one interactions with Kaido. Zoro got the better of Kaido in each of them. Does that mean Zoro is Yonko level? No. In Ashura, it looks like it. At least if you want to take small sample sizes, right? If you want to take small sample sizes, maybe it's too much to extrapolate just from that. But the way I view it is also just like, think about it like this, right? Ashura Zoro, we know that Zoro needs to get control of his Conqueror's Haki. It's been established that Ashura is Conqueror's Haki based. Zoro just doesn't realize it, right? That's all established in Kaido's interaction. So to me, it seems like the next progression for Zoro is simply being able to use Ashura consistently, right? Zoro's not that far off from the time that he has to defeat Mihawk, world's strongest swordsman, which suggests to me that the Ashura form is meant to be Yonko level, because otherwise, logically, how do you think Zoro's going to get to Yonko level, you know? It's just a tease of his future power. It's not, I don't think it's much more complicated than that. It's kind of, like, to me, it just doesn't, it's clear he can't bring it out consciously or with his own control. It seems like he's set up to learn how to do that. We all accept that Zoro will be Yonko level. He should be pretty damn soon, right? So it's kind of just connecting A to B, which is, well, he showed Yonko level stuff before. He can't access that power right now. We know he's working on something directly related to that power, which is Conqueror's Haki. We know he's got to be Yonko level soon. So I don't get what the pearl clutching is about this argument. Because essentially, if you don't want that, then basically what you would want is from Zoro to go from his current level, which is like a strong first mate, maybe first mate plus if people call that a tier, right? Let's say a strong first mate. You want him to go from that to suddenly magically jump 10 steps to world's strongest swordsman level. I don't really know how, like, in one from between now and the final war, which is like next up. So I don't know. I think Oda's made it kind of easier by already showcasing us a preview of the next step, but established that Zoro can't consistently use that. The next step for Zoro seems to be being able to consistently use that, right? Which should put him at Yonko level, if you just imagine Zoro's natural progression, how it should take him through the story. And then in the final war, he's probably just like a souped-up version of Ashura or something to defeat Mihawk. Something like that, you know? Because King of Hell ain't cutting it. King of Hell's a joke. You can finally stop talking about King of Hell, because just Ashura was always a cooler title. Let's get stream likes up to 50 real quick. Let's get stream likes up to 50. Anime Dimension, thanks for the 5. Last chapter, is there any winners in chapter predictions? I think my prediction is accurate. No, I looked back last time. I did not see any people that I thought were correct prediction winners. We can take a look again, but I didn't shout any out in the thing. We get an update on Robin, Saul, Biblo. We didn't, did we? No, we didn't see Robin, Saul, and Biblo, right? Let me duplicate this. Hold on. Am I crazy? I'm so sorry. If we did see that, I'll just add you to the chapter predictions for next week. But I don't. Maybe in all of the other stuff happening in the chapter, I just don't recall us getting an update. Prediction: Zoro and Sanji compare their fights to admirals. Okay. Power scaling prediction. Zoro / Sanji compare their fights to admirals. Luke Brown, thanks for the 5. Could we get a quick update on Better Call Saul? Have you finished season 6? If so, thoughts on Jimmy and Kim's characters after their story concludes? Oh, people are gonna get upset. Tornado says maybe Mihawk isn't as good as you think he is. I mean, maybe, but I guess let's say Mihawk's irrelevant, right? Let's just pretend Mihawk's irrelevant. He's a fraud. All that really matters is that Zoro at the end of the story is supposed to be the world's strongest swordsman, right? Even if you think that Mihawk is a fraud, at the end of the day, regardless of your opinion on Mihawk, it has no bearing, literally, on Zoro's end of story strength. Because Zoro scales to, like, whoever you think the true strongest swordsman is then. If you think it's fucking Imu, if you think it's Shanks, right? Zoro in a sword duel at the end of the story, whether you like it or not, is gonna be able to beat your favorite character in a sword duel, right? So, you know, if you're like, I think Mihawk's a fraud, I think actually Shanks or Shamrock or Imu would beat him in a sword duel, cool. It doesn't matter. Zoro will ultimately be able to beat them in a sword duel, right? That's Zoro's dream. It's very important to his character. It is literally bad writing if he can't do that, because that's just what bad writing means, right? So, you know, it's fine. Fuck Mihawk. If you want to say fuck Mihawk, fuck Mihawk. Insert who you think is the strongest character in a sword duel. That's Zoro's end of story benchmark, right? Julian Reed says, why would Mihawk be a fraud, though? I'm just entertaining the argument. I don't think Mihawk's a fraud. I'm just entertaining the argument, which is like, if I want to, like, really, really play pure devil's advocate for you guys, right? Anti-Mihawk, anti-Zoro people. If I want to play absolute devil's advocate, and I'm like, okay, let's pretend Mihawk's out the window. The thing is, Mihawk doesn't ultimately matter in terms of where Zoro's end of story strength is going to be, because it's always going to be a bit stronger than whoever the strongest character is in a sword duel, you know? As for Better Call Saul, I have not finished season 6. I've noticed when I'm very, very stressed work-wise, like I've just gotta, if I'm juggling a lot of different balls at the same time, right? Then I don't like to watch shows that are high stress as well. I like decompression shows. So Better Call Saul is in season 6, without spoilers, it is stressful to watch some stuff. I'm loving it. I think I'm 5 episodes in. So I've been making some slow progress. I'm not making slow progress because I don't like it. I'm making slow progress just because I'm at a point where I need to be in a certain headspace to want to watch. Show's really good. I feel like I'm watching a train wreck with Jimmy and Kim's actions at the moment. Especially because, no spoilers, but Howard is... this is the last thing I'll say that's kind of spoilery at all. Howard has low-key become one of my few favorite characters in the show. I am sincerely disgusted by the current storyline, but it's like a train crash. I have to watch it. Jimmy and Kim's characters, I'll say at the moment, they are my two least favorite characters right now. Not just in Better Call Saul, but all of Breaking Bad. To me, they are just cruel. They are just cruel characters, and I view them as genuinely pathetic. Walt was a bad dude, for sure. A bad dude. I'll keep this short, right? One Piece focus, right? Walt was a really bad dude. Ultimately, he did way worse stuff than Jimmy and Kim have done, so I'm not trying to defend what Walt did. But I never got the sense that Walt was pointlessly cruel, right? His actions were way worse because, like, dealing meth, etc., right? So ultimately, greater evil caused by Walt, but I never got the sense that he was needlessly cruel. And at the end of the day, for better or worse, in the same way I respect, like, Gus Fring for, like, his strategy and the stuff that he built, right? Or, like, certain characters like Lalo, etc. Ultimately, I respected Walt as a character in terms of, like, this dude went from just a fucking chemistry teacher to, like, a crime lord and took out all of his opposition over the years in a very short span of time, right? With Jimmy and Kim, I just view them as pathetic because unlike Walt, they're generally not conning or, like, playing chess games with people who are, as Jimmy himself says, in the game, you know? Jimmy and Kim are just fucking over regular ass people and justifying it in their heads over and over again in, like, a sliding scale. I don't respect, like, to me, this is just, it's almost like Walt is like a fictional being, right? I mean, they're all fictional beings, but Walt is like, ultimately, there's not a real story of, like, a dude, like a chemistry teacher that goes down the spiral that becomes, like, a massive drug lord and stuff like that, right? It's a very interesting tale, but the thing about Jimmy and Kim is that they almost feel much more real in terms of how sleazy and pathetic they are as characters. Like, people who are like Jimmy and Kim, who think that this person deserves to be tricked by me or conned by me, and because I can do it, I can justify the actions. I can just trick a person for no reason and scam them, etc. I don't like. I hate watching these characters. I hate watching these characters. I used to love him in the first 3 seasons. Started shifting in season 4. Season 5, I was like, do I dislike these characters sincerely? And then season 6, I'm like, I hate these characters. Okay, no spoilers though. Yeah, Walt was pragmatic. Jimmy's just lashing out due to the pain in his life. Yeah, Walt is just so coldly pragmatic, but at the end of and he is ultimately doing a lot of it for his own ego. So is Jimmy, right? But a lot of Jimmy's pain in his life, I would love an additional backstory for him or something. Maybe we get that. But a lot of his pain, the pain in his life, is fucking pathetic, and it's based on nothing. He was fucking robbing his dad as a child. The thing I don't like about Better Call Saul, I actually love the show. I think when I say don't like, I don't mean it in terms of like, oh, I think this is a critique of the show, but it's made all of my favorite side. It's made me dislike all of my favorite side characters from Breaking Bad. Does that make sense? My favorite Saul was maybe my favorite side character from Breaking Bad. All of my favorite side characters from Breaking Bad: Saul, Gus, Mike. I don't fucking like them as much now. Mike is I don't like Mike. I feel like we're supposed to root for Mike to some degree. I'm not rooting for Mike. Mike is actually one of my least favorite characters in the show because he kind of gets away with sort of like the show still portrays him in a positive light in a sense. And it's like, no, this dude fucking sucks. He just preaches to other people. He is aware of what he is, right? So he's not pretending to be something he's not. But to me, that's not like a pass. I'm like, fuck you. Like, every time Mike opens his mouth to lecture somebody or give some sort of wise speech, I'm like, fuck this dude. Fuck this dude. I would prefer the character if he was just who he is, you know? Even Gus, I'd like, Gus, I was hoping this show would do more for Gus as a character. It's actually, to me, taken away a little bit of what made Gus really interesting in Breaking Bad. Now, the flip side to all, and it's made me hate Jimmy, okay? I'll backtrack a little bit. I don't hate Mike, but I think the show wants us to feel some sort of empathy for Mike's decision making and everything like that. I don't feel that. Now, the flip side is Better Call Saul has introduced a lot of other characters who have now become some of my favorites, period. Okay, so Nacho. Won't say nothing about Nacho, about his story, but maybe my second character in the whole universe. Second favorite character, maybe my favorite character in the whole universe. Lalo, fast replacing Gus Fring as my favorite TV villain. Howard? What a randomly great character. Chuck, I very much enjoyed his stint in the show. I don't know. I'm glad Walt always pissed him off, lol. Yeah, in Breaking Bad, I was on Mike's side in a lot of those situations. In Better Call Saul, I'm so sick of him preaching to other people and like acting like the good guy. Even though he acknowledges his own fault, like he doesn't pretend to be a good guy, but I'm just like, dude, just stop preaching to other people then. Hector walking into Pollos Hermanos, getting the soda, putting a cigar in his mouth, and walking over to walking past the cashiers and everything. That image for some reason is burned into my memory. So I'm not trying to shit on Better Call Saul. I love the show. I'm a little sad at how it's made me change my feelings to what were previously a lot of my favorite side characters in TV. Period. I'm having a much harder time rooting for the main character than I did in Breaking Bad, because even though they're both bad people, who they're going up against is fundamentally different. It was like Walt is a bad person going up against other bad people, so I can mentally get behind it. Jimmy is a dude who thinks he's a good dude going up against people who are really not bad people whatsoever and just fucking with them. Anyway, but then yeah, it's made me dislike a lot of my favorite characters from Breaking Bad. But on the flip side, I love the new side characters it's introduced. I feel like a lot of them are my new favorites in a sense. So I don't know. Okay. All right. Sorry about the Better Call Saul Breaking Bad tangent, everybody. I'm sorry about that. Let's get we're done with that. Let's get Streamlabs up to 50 real quick. Okay. Oh my God, Anime Dimension, you are right. I'm sorry. For some reason, when I was skimming the chapter predictions from the previous stream, and I totally missed that. Robin comes to grab Chopper for okay. I forgot. I'm sorry. Anime Dimension. Let me make a quick note. Hold on. Let me make a quick note. Um, but oh shit. Okay, I see. Oh my God, hold on. Whatever. The mic's fine now. Anyway, how long was the mic? Fuck. All right, whatever. Okay, we're back. My bad. We are back. All right. Anyway. Yeah, we're back. All right. So, Anime Dimension. Let me start with that. Anime Dimension. First of all, I will add you to the chapter predictions for next chapter. Okay, so I made a note of that. Then, Luffy falling into the underworld. I think that'd be pretty cool. caught up to Kagurabachi. It's so good, says Gabriel Lantis. Thank you very much. I love Kagurabachi. I'm a few chapters behind you, probably like 10 chapters behind you, because I took a little break for chapters to pile up. It is so good. I strongly recommend people reading it. Strongly recommend people reading it. I mean, when I say it's so good, I'm not saying it's like the next Berserk or something, but it is so far an excellently plotted, crafted shonen series. Good characters, great plot. Like, I don't know how to explain. The plot is really tight. I think the first 10, 20 chapters, first little bit of the story is, in my opinion, very corny and not good. Then it hits a bit of a rhythm. The action is spectacular. The abilities are really cool. I've explained how Kagurabachi kind of works before, but the abilities are really cool in the sense that it's kind of like every, rather than have like a lot of, there's a ton of characters have abilities. Everybody's got abilities for the most part, okay? But there's a select few characters who have special abilities tied to special swords. I initially didn't like that, but I came to enjoy it as the series progressed, because it makes the sword duels just insane. Like, phenomenal action set pieces. I think legitimately, I don't know if I can say this for another series, maybe early Naruto. In its first 100 chapters, Kagurabachi has, you would say, at least 3 all-time great manga fights. And you could argue more if you argue certain team battles or certain, like, sequences of battles and stuff like that. It's just 3, maybe 4. I would have to reread it, but it's just arc after arc, it will culminate in a phenomenal fight. But it's not just the fights. The plotting is so tight. It is clearly a very well-planned series, and the way the story beats sort of stack up very quickly, but not too rushed. It does the world building well, but not too rushed, and it hits you with lots of twists and ways to escalate tension and suspense very fast, without ever feeling like it's just going too crazy and blowing everything up at, like, before it's earned it, if that makes sense. And it's got some good emotional scenes to some degree. I think there's the way the first 100 chapters kind of wrap is particularly powerful. It's just it's a great series, as in terms of, like, just delivering on shonen writing without really having any missteps as far as shonen writing, if that makes sense. If you're going in to try and feel something like a story as grand as One Piece, or a story with as heartbreaking tearjerker stuff as One Piece, it's not going to be that. If you're looking for something as, like, complex philosophically as, you know, some stuff like a little bit more deep, like, let's say a little bit more thoughtful philosophy, like, let's say Hunter x Hunter or like a Vinland Saga or something like that. It's not that, but it does do emotion solidly well as the story progresses, and it's got some particularly strong stuff towards the end of the first 100 chapters. And thematically, it does its job and everything like that. I would say plot, cool cast of characters that are developing very fast. Plot, I cannot stress enough. Just a very gripping plot as it progresses. And just, it knows how to make, like, a really gripping, action-packed storyline that escalates stakes. Phenomenal fights. It feels very satisfying to read. Love Kagurabachi. The emotional scenes are not ass at all. I didn't mean to say that they're ass. I'm just saying that if you're looking for something like, well, you know, it's personal opinion. I guess I generally don't. How do I say this? I think it's got emotional scenes, like, and I think it does them well. All right. I guess what I'm saying is that if you're expecting the bar that One Piece did in its first 100 chapters with Arlong Park and, like, Nami's Help Me, I'm just trying to temper expectation. I don't want people going to read Kagurabachi and then coming out and being like, more just not this and this. I'm just being very clear with where I think it's a 10 out of 10. And then in other areas, I think it's like a 9 or an 8 at worst. Does that make sense? So let me be very clear. I don't think it's bad at emotional scenes or anything like that. I think it's got some really good stuff towards the end. Yeah, I guess I'm just saying that, you know, if you're expecting like a Nami Arlong Park type thing, I don't think it quite hits that, in my opinion. Maybe it did for some of you Kagurabachi readers. If you're expecting like Naruto Part 1 hit me with a lot of emotional stuff, I don't think even compared to that it reaches the highs of Naruto's emotional moments from Part 1 for me. But those are very high standards, right? I think most shonen don't really hit that. I think Kagurabachi emotionally is still very good, okay? TomTom says, I'd say it has moments equal to help me. Okay, I mean, then that's, if I'm not going to argue against that. That's people's subjective opinion. I'm more so just prefacing it with, I really don't want people going and reading Kagurabachi and coming back and telling me more this was, you overhyped it or anything. So I'm trying to give as clear of an opinion as possible. I think it's 10 out of 10 for me, 10 out of 10 in some ways, right? For me. And then, like 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 at everything else, all right? It's just a very, yeah, I like it a lot. Eric J.O., thanks for the 5. Prediction, Robin has discovered something about Chopper's devil fruit in the library. Maybe an explanation to his natural counter to Dami Reversi / Emu in general. Ooh, I think you're actually probably going to be right, but maybe not this next chapter. Robin has discovered something about Chopper's... I'll just keep it short. Before we get any further, let me just point out how cool Elbaf is right now. How cool Elbaf is for the Straw Hats, right? Think about this, okay? So, from the top, right? Robin reunion with Saul. Ass, but still notable character drama and potential for rest of the arc. Let's say character moment and potential for the rest of the arc, okay? Robin, reunion with Saul. Okay? Sanji. Unlocking Conqueror's Haki, apparently by coming to terms with his own demons / self-image. Alright? Zoro. Mastering control of his Conqueror's Haki, presumably with some character writing involved. Usopp. This arc is, in his words, before arc started, going to be him achieving his dream. Evidence already pointing to that coming up. Brook. Second flashback. Exorcising demons from his past. Just became one of the deepest Straw Hats. Wait, is my screen blocking this a little bit now? Hold on. Here, let me do this. Right? Okay. Then we got Luffy going through his most humbling defeat of the New World, reliving loss of Ace, potential for growth, potential for character moment. All right. Then we got Chopper, True Devil Fruit reveal, True Identity, Forest God, etc. Frankie, Ancient Lab, Adam Tree. What the fuck? What's going on with Frankie? Then we got Nami / Shinbei. Isn't this crazy? This is a lot. This is what this is a lot for the Straw Hats, right? This is a lot of shit that Oda's putting together right here, right? How lucky are we? We're at like two of the least focused on Straw Hats right now. You would say are Chopper and Franky, and even they because you just reminded me, Eric Joe, with the Chopper situation. Even Chopper might be about to discover his true role and destiny in the world, right? Franky might be about to unravel some serious history shit with the Ancient Lab, and he might be able to do some upgrades for the Sunny with the Atom Tree. Like, he might be revisiting his dream, and that's like towards the bottom of this list, right? Like, other characters, other starts are getting second flashbacks. Sanji's getting a whole additional character arc here. Zoro potentially as well. Usopp, in his own words, as the arc starting, he's gonna achieve his dream here, right? Like, Luffy going through finally some significant character emotional pain in the New World that's not caused by fucking Sanji himself, right? Robin, we know it's ass at the beginning, but maybe it has some good potential for the character, and it's at least it's Oda trying. You know what? At the end of the day, I would rather Oda try and fucking fumble it like he did here completely than just treat Robin like a side character. We are like in Elbaf, out of the 10 Straw Hats, there's only 2 that you can say literally have nothing really going on character wise for them. But that's a million times better than fucking Egghead, where it was everybody on the list had jack shit going on for them character wise, right? Or in fucking Dressrosa, where it's literally just Usopp that gets some character stuff. Whole Cake was pretty good. Whole Cake had good stuff for Sanji, for Luffy, arguably a bit for Nami. It gave a little work with like Nami, Brook, Jinbei, depending on how you view it, right? Punk Hazard, fucking nothing. Fishman Island, fucking nothing, right? This is good shit. This is amazing. Like, even by pre-time skip standards, most pre-time skip arcs do not do this much for all of the strats. Like, there's not individual setups for like 80% of the crew. You know what I mean? Great stuff. Great stuff. All right. Might warrant a video. I don't know. Anyway, getting back into it. Let's get Streamlabs up to 50 real quick. Joseph eBay, thanks for the 10. Hey, Morge, whatever happened to the Kahoot stream? Oh my god. I think TomTom made that. Yeah, we have that in the list of things. Let me give myself a little reminder. Prediction, Gabon holds off Emu, but eventually is overwhelmed. However, he cuts down the tree. Luffy is on freeing him. Okay, I'm just gonna put down Gabon cuts down tree. Luffy is on freeing him. Simply because Gabon holding off Emu but eventually being overwhelmed, I think that's too easy of a prediction. Like, for all we know, Gabon could really surprise us, but I think most people kind of expect that Gabon isn't going to be able to hold off Emu forever. Sean Easton, good to see you as always, man. Thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 38 months. Also, Pirate King podcast submissions, I think they should be open right now if you guys want to go check. I think we had them posted. For those of you who don't know, Pirate King podcast is a once a month podcast where I answer all Pirate King tier members' questions. It can be about One Piece, other anime, manga, TV, movies, etc. If you want to ask me about Better Call Saul or whatever, that's a great place to do it. I can talk pretty much unrestricted there without thinking about, time that I'm taking up on streams. If you want to support the channel, then definitely consider going to join the Pirate King podcast. You get access to all previous podcasts. You still have you get a window to submit questions for the next podcast. Podcasts are about an hour and a half. And if it's anything of interest, the last podcast that I did high, so that can be a fun one if you guys want to check out. Lotus Purple says, I think you missed my first super chat on pudding. I am so sorry. Hold on. Sorry about that, Lotus Purple. Thank you for clarifying. No, we covered this. Sanji's a pacifist, pudding is a sadist, true love. I caught that. Unless, did I say that when I was muted? I think I made a joke about that. Maybe it was when I was muted, but yeah, Sanji. I think Pudding's other half of her personality, because she kind of switches personalities a bit, does seem to be a sadist. So you're right, it would be good. Continuing on. Hold on. Oh, considering Gaban already cut the tree Luffy was being impaled on, I predict that the crew grab Luffy and either freeze him or try to heal him. Hold on, let me take a look. Let me take a look. Did Gaban cut the tree? I feel stupid revisiting this. Let me see. Oh, it does look. Fuck. He did cut the tree. He did cut the tree. Oh man, Joseph eBay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This has already happened. Gaban cut the tree. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Joseph eBay. Thank you, Sean Easton, for clarifying. Thank you. The crew grab Luffy and either freeze him or try to heal him. Okay, I'll say the tricky thing is that theory was brought up last stream. I don't remember the exact name of the user, but I have it written down who did it. I think it was Haven, something like that. I have it written down in my notes. But for the purposes of this, I will put yours down because he technically didn't submit it as a prediction. But maybe I'll give him the W as well, just because I think that was very memorable what he said. Then if they do end up freezing him, okay. So Sean Easton, I'll be specific. The crew grab Luffy and either heal him or try to freeze him. Qian Liu, thank you. Sorry your message was retracted. Neems1, thanks for the 5. Theory, Luffy says he wants to be Pirate King. He'll unlock his full Conqueror's Haki when he believes he already is. That's an interesting idea. I don't know if that's a prediction for this next chapter, but that's an interesting idea in general. I think Luffy says things like, I'm the man who's going to be the Pirate King. So I don't think he necessarily says he wants to. I think he already thinks of himself as that man. So I don't know if that's the same thing. Julian Reed, thanks to the 2. Has One Piece ever legitimately brought you to tears? What? I think on stream there have been times that me recalling parts of One Piece have actually literally made me teary-eyed. On stream, I don't know if you guys... literally me recalling certain parts of One Piece and talking about them has made me teary-eyed on stream. Not frequently, but a few times I know over the last several years that's happened. Like me just talking about it. If I were to rack up all of the things that... Let me see. Recent times, things that have made me teary reading the manga week to week have been the Kuma flashback, specifically the final chapters of that. I don't remember if the Ginny stuff did exactly, but the final chapters of the Kuma flashback did. The final chapter did. And in Brook's backstory, I think the chapter where Brook arrives, where Brook's running up with the music and everything and he arrives, I don't know if it made me teary. It got me close. That actually was very moving for me because it wasn't even the scene itself. I think the music choice and all of that and the way that it was presented was very good. But it was making me view Brook in such a different light as a character, so it was more so what I was thinking, okay? But if I were to go through the entirety of One Piece, I have cried from One Piece a lot of times. And one of the most surefire signature ways for me to cry is if I rewatch the Robin backstory. I cry just from watching other people watch the Robin backstory. There's moments in One Piece that aren't even crying moments that make me cry. Like, when Luffy declares war on the world government, I tear up from that. Usopp giving his speech to Luffy about, like, it ain't like it's hell here, and Luffy being like, Luffy getting up, Usopp being, what can you do? What can a half-dead man like you do? And Luffy being like, I'll defeat him. And then Usopp's like, then get up right now. Don't act like you're dead. It ain't like it's hell here. And Luffy yelling, no matter what. Luffy yelling, no matter what. That scene gets me if you guys want to watch me do a reaction for that, we can happily, let's make that a late penalty or something. We could do a reaction. You know what? Let's add that to late penalties, which is Morge reacts to One Piece scenes that make him cry. Whoops. Whitebeard's death in the manga, the way it was done, I cry going back to that. Actually, I don't think I cry going back to that necessarily, but I cried when I first read it. Um, yeah, let's get back to this. Cash in, cash in. If I go through the story, there's a lot of scenes that there's a lot of scenes that get that emotion out of me. A ton of scenes. I think it's a little harder for the manga to do, because the anime, it's different with the music and everything like that, so it's a little bit harder for the manga to do. Um, voice acting, music, etc. And I experienced most of One Piece through the manga first, so a lot of my most moving moments are manga or anime first. Like I tear up even from shit like watching Luffy defeat Crocodile and the music kicking in, and then it cutting to Vivi and Vivi tearing up and Vivi remembering Luffy promising that he would kick Crocodile's ass. There's a lot, like, there's scenes you wouldn't even think are like crying scenes that actually make me tear up in One Piece. Okay, from the manga, I remember one of the first scenes that made me tear up when I was reading weekly was Whitebeard's death. I don't know if it was the first time I read it, but just going back through the scene and chapter and rereading and rereading it, that just made me well up. Ace's death, interestingly, didn't. I don't know why. I really don't know why, but Ace's death, interestingly, didn't. There was something about the way Whitebeard died standing that just, and the narrator's text, that really, really hit for me. Um, and then I think post time skip, it was very hard for One Piece to make me cry for quite some time. I know Kuma's backstory, the final chapter, it made me feel those emotions. And yeah, even Brook's backstory, the second chapter, like the chapter where Brook runs up the stairs with the music and everything, and comes across the scene that he sees. Obviously, it wasn't that scene itself, but as I explained, the general recontextualizing of Brook as a character did move me a lot. So yeah, just some context. Like, you guys might be surprised, but when I'm watching stuff, I think you've even seen me tear up watching Kuma's backstory in the anime. I don't know if I cried watching that or not. I think it feels a little different when I'm being watched by viewers, so it feels a little bit different. So I don't know if I would have the same reactions or whatever, but I know when I first encountered in the manga, that moved me quite a bit. I think, you know what? Generally, it's going to be the first scene, the first way I experience the scene is what it's going to be for me. Because I've gone and watched Whitebeard's death in the anime, and that actually hasn't moved me as much, because I experienced it in the manga first. But if I go back and reread the chapter in the flow of Marineford, that always hits me. Does that make sense? So I suspect that's the same case with the Kuma situation. And it applies to other anime stuff, right? So like Luffy and Usopp's, like, their back and forth at Enies Lobby, the climax of Enies Lobby, when I first saw that in the anime, yeah, that makes me tear up, and the whole Jet Gatling. But in the manga, when I read it, it doesn't quite as much. It still moves me emotionally, but not the same. So I think for me, it's whatever I experience it, the context I experience it in first is kind of guaranteed to move me the most, because that's just how my brain has, like, contextualized it. Anyway. Yeah, continuing on. I'm not an Ace hater. I think, like, for whatever reason, the way the scene was done just didn't it was clearly a phenomenally well done scene, but it's hard to say why something makes you cry or not cry. With Whitebeard, for me, it was just the display of, like, who the character was and everything, going out like that, standing, etc. That was amazing. Yeah. Um, yeah, the last thing I'm saying is that you would be surprised. It is not that hard, I think, for movies and TV to make me cry. I think usually for me, animated stuff, I think, is the key. Like I've told you guys before a lot, like there's a lot of Pixar scenes, even in Pixar movies, that I don't care for that much overall. There's a lot of Pixar scenes. Pixar is very good at making me cry. It's hard to Pixar is always hard for me to evaluate, because, like, I don't think that, like, 80% of the movie of Up is actually that good. I mean, I think it's solid. Like, it's a fun, good movie. But I only think one segment of it is actually amazing, and it does make me cry. So I'm like, how do I rate this? Because, like, like, for me, it's kind of like that with a lot of Pixar movies. Like in Inside Out, there's this scene where, like, Bing Bong, the fucking elephant. Inside Out as a movie as a whole doesn't I'm never gonna sit down and be like, I want to fucking watch this movie. I don't dislike the movie. I think it's a good movie. I don't have like particularly strong opinions about it. But there's individual scenes, like that scene with Bing Bong is burned in my brain. I'm like, that was an amazing scene. So I don't know why Pixar's like that for me. Yeah. I think what it is I don't always enjoy like Pixar's overall stories, but then it has certain character scenes and certain things that are really, really like heartbreakingly well done. Um, yeah, it's hard to explain. I don't know. Now I'm going off on a tangent. Okay, not really an ostrich. Thanks for the two. Gabon scolds Luffy for not taking things seriously. That would be Loki really fucked up if Gabon does that right now. Because it's one thing like it's one thing when it's like, casual or whatever, but this is like Luffy's dying, like this is like this that would be kind of fucked up. That would be like Ivankov making fun of Luffy when he's, uh dying in Impel Down, or like even just Rayleigh making fun of Luffy when Kizaru's going after his crew or something. I don't know, but I'll put it down. Julian Reed, thanks for the two. Gunko wakes up and catches Emu attention. He drops Luffy. That's a really good prediction. I like that a lot. Let's call her Shuri. Shuri wakes up and catches Emu's attention. Yeah, let's be nice to her. Let's call her Shuri. Let's get stream likes up to 100 real quick. Let's get stream likes up to 100. Gabon just turning around and yelling at a literal corpse while the king of the world is in front of him. Yeah, that'd be brutal. That'd be brutal. Tiptio, thanks for the two. You think Luffy will understand Joy Boy after Elbaf? I really don't know. I don't know how Oda wants to play this whole game. One, there's always forever going to be the possibility that Luffy is Joy Boy. So let's not. No, I think Emu's basically rejected that, right? So it's just not that fine. That's fine, okay? But there's some. It's more so in Luffy's nature and character to not give a shit about that sort of thing. But Oda can play it multiple ways, right? Maybe part of Luffy's story is that he is supposed to actually finally be exposed to the idea of destiny and those sort of things, and then we get to see how Luffy contends with that idea. Or, maybe Luffy is just supposed to go about doing things without actually having to face those sort of, potential conflicts or, character debates or whatever. So I think it's really hard. Marcos5395, thanks for being a Supernova member for 4 months. Evil will drop some new Roger lore next chapter. Oh, that could be cool. He might be like, you're not the first Pirate King bum that I've encountered over the years. Alright. Emu will drop some new Roger lore. Do you all think that we're done with Roger flashbacks? Like, do you think that we basically have gotten the best that there is for Roger? We might see him in like little casual flashbacks, as in we might see him in glimpses or something, like a quick flashback, kind of something like that. But I'm saying an extended flashback, like in Wano or in God Valley. Do you guys think? Joseph eBay says, "Missed my super." What is going on? I'm sorry. Hold on. No, Joseph, I covered the super. I covered the super. The Kahoot stream, I told you, like, I do have a note for that. We will do that at some point. It's just we've just shuffled that. Maybe that'd be good for Monday. And you said prediction: Gabon holds off Emu, but is eventually overwhelmed. However, he cuts down the tree. Luffy's on freeing him. So if you recall, I actually put that down here, but then it was pointed out by Sean Easton that Gabon's actually already cut the tree down and freed him. So I took your prediction down because it has actually already happened in the chapter. It can be a little hard to see, but it does look like Gabon has cut the tree in half and freed Luffy. So that's already happened. And then the other half of your prediction, which was Gabon holds off Emu but is eventually overwhelmed, that falls under the category of it's a bit too simple / easy for prediction. Look, anything can happen. Maybe next chapter Gabon just fucks up Emu. But I think most people would bet money. It's a fairly safe bet that Gabon does ultimately get overwhelmed by Emu, you know, so that's why I can't put that down. So, yeah, hopefully that clarifies things. Yeah, no worries, Joseph. I missed the tree being cut too. Are we getting any more extended Roger flashbacks? At least 1 to 2+ chapters of focus. It's tricky because like we've essentially covered the two. We only ever knew about two major events for Roger, right? We only knew about two major events. One was Roger getting the Laugh Tale and becoming named the Pirate King, right? And then two was this legendary battle at God Valley. We have covered both of those events for Roger, so we might just be tapped out in terms of exploring the character, which I think is a damn shame because his role as Pirate King, starting the story, right, like first panel of One Piece, etc., it feels just not as grand anymore in a sense, you know? It feels like Joy Boy has essentially taken the position in the story that once belonged to Roger in terms of what he represents, which, you know, it is what it is, but yeah, I think one thing I don't appreciate as much is that early on it felt like Roger was a very like yeah, just a very mythic character with a lot of depth and mystery to him. And then you kind of pull back the curtain and it's ultimately a very simple character, right? And then Joy Boy has kind of taken over the role. But the tricky thing with Joy Boy is that Joy Boy feels remarkably similar to Luffy. And part of what I enjoyed about Roger back when we would only get glimpses of him, right, was that Roger felt he felt similar to Luffy, but different. It felt like his own man, you know? I don't know. And Joy Boy feels like it's just Luffy 1.0. The Dream Summon, thanks to the 5. Gaban slash Emu speaks about Laugh-Tale slash Gavan's visit there with Roger. Right? So right on topic. Gaban slash Emu speak about Laugh-Tale and Roger's journey there. I would love to see that. Absolutely would love to see that. At Whale, thanks to the 5. Can you make a video on how far Shanks goes in the plot? Less and less likely he dies. If Shamrock is in the final war, seems to be a guarantee. Same for Shanks. I don't think Shanks is dying before the final. I think the way Oda set up the story is pretty much everything comes together in the final war. Everybody's in action, but that doesn't mean that Shanks isn't necessarily gonna live through the final war. You know, Shanks has some of the biggest death flags in the series, so I don't think that Shanks is just gonna walk into the final war and be axed. You know, I think that Shanks is he's gonna show out. Oda loves Shanks as a character. Oda has made it not very subtly clear that he views Shanks as essentially his self-insert, and he said as much in interviews and in SBSs. So whatever Oda's got planned for Shanks, it's gonna be really big and satisfying. But that doesn't mean that Shanks is necessarily going to live through the end of the story. Jordson, thanks a lot. I quit my job today. Everybody, let's say congrats to Jordson. That is awesome. I'm glad that you're happy about it. Yeah, must feel good, man. Better Call Saul update. So, I did already talk about it. Okay, so people believe that we're getting more Roger stuff. That's cool. I did already talk at length about Better Call Saul, so I don't want to derail stream. So you can go earlier in stream to check it out. But just to quickly answer your question, loving season 6. It is a phenomenal season. Yeah, I'm loving the way the show is wrapping up. I'm going slow because I find at this stage, Better Call Saul is, it's a pretty stressful show to watch, to be honest. In its end game. Right now I'm juggling a lot of different things work-wise. So between YouTube and well, I mean, I can be open with this, right? Between YouTube and the marketing agency that I've got going for law firms, which is really starting to uh, to get off the ground. Like, I'm feeling very good about this. Um, Between these two things, I am the it's tricky because like the more the better that does, the more time I'm splitting essentially. So, um, but I don't want to sacrifice the quality of videos. So I did actually note that you guys might have noticed before this video, like the previous video that I did, which was about, Luffy's next power up or whatever, that wasn't the best video, right? And that was talked about in chat and brought up. I understand. I own up to that. That was a video just to get out a video for the week. I considered skipping a video, but I was like, let me do something. I think in the future, it's better to not do a video rather than do a video half-assed. So the last video that I did put a significant amount of time into. It helped that it was a topic that I really enjoyed, which is, we just saw Luffy get put through the absolute, like, torture chamber by Imu. Love that. So there was a lot I wanted to say about that. So I'm glad that people really resonated with this video. But yeah, basically, I'm working crazy hours right now. Absolutely crazy hours. Better Call Saul, stressful show. I've realized that if I've had a long, stressful, and not even stressful, like let's just say a tiring day, right? Let's just say a long, tiring day. One, it's a fairly long show, right? So watching a full episode is a bit of a time commitment. And then two, yeah, I don't view it as a decompressed show. So I've been a little slow getting through the final season. Not because the final season's bad, but just because final season, it's kind of like one of those edge of your seat type things. And, if I'm finishing work at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., I don't want to sit down and watch another hour-long episode of something that's going to like feel really like edge of my seat. Ooh, I want to watch another, etc. So I might finish it maybe this weekend if I get time. But yeah, I think the long and short of it is, love the show, love the way it's wrapping up, strongly dislike a lot of the main characters at this point, and it has unfortunately hurt my view of a lot of my favorite side characters from Breaking Bad. So it's retroactively made me dislike a lot of them. And but the flip side is there's a ton of new characters in Better Call Saul that I actually love a lot, so it balances out. Reflexy, thanks for the 10. When are we revisiting the 2024 LBAF predictions? Did we not do that in 2025? Do you mean the 2025 LBAF predictions? We can take a look at that. Did we not do that? Gobble these nuts. Thanks for being a Pirate King to remember for 21 months. Do you respond to Morge when you get stopped by your fans in public? Yeah. I've not been stopped in a little bit. Yeah, not in a little bit, but I think now, like, I don't get stopped that frequently. It's fairly rare, but I would say in total, it's more times than I can count now. Does that make sense? So it's not like 50 times or something like that, but it's not like it's more than 10. Does that make sense? So it's I know it's not crazy high, but now it's past the point where I'm like, oh yeah, this happened, and then this happened, and this happened. So now it kind of just, but it has not happened in some time. But that might be because, so this year, especially the last, especially this year, because this year I've been like all in work-wise on multiple projects, like YouTube and other stuff, right? I've been inside the house a lot this year. Like last year I was, getting out more, etc. This year, I think I'm spending a shit ton of time just indoors. So now that I think about it, yeah. Momans 101, thanks for the 5. Whitebeard Pirates, Vista and Jozu show up to help Gaban. Crazy theory. Vista and Jozu show up to help Gaban? Oh shit. The two characters who even the world's strongest swordsman couldn't deal with. Fuck, I don't know what Eamon's gonna do about this. Also, wish me luck, man. IRL, I'm filing a complaint about my workplace bullying. I am sorry to hear that, man. What the fuck? Your workplace bullying? Yeah, fucking file that shit. Fuck that guy or woman or whoever's doing that to you. File that shit. Get HR on their ass. Yeah. Everyone say props to Momans for teaching this bully a lesson. I hope it's okay. I hope it hasn't been messing with you too much. We all support you, momans. Vista and Jozu show up to help Gabon. TJM78, that's a cool name. Thanks to the 5. Robin wants Chopper to come to the library because Beeble has something important to tell him. Okay. It's an expansion of this theory, so this might be correct. Biblo has something important to tell Chopper. Is that too simple? I don't know. Well, I'd say no, because it's possible we don't even spend the chapter with Chopper. It might just be all Gabon focused. Ryuno Ace sent 6-7. Thanks a lot. CSSNSSN, thanks to the 2. Is Gabon's Conqueror's Haki stronger than Luffy and Zoro's? I feel like he's probably better at using it, you know? So it's kind of like Gabon. It's kind of like Gabon told Zoro, which is Conqueror's Haki is not useful if you can't control it. I feel like Luffy and Zoro should have higher. Part of this is just like Oda's not been super clear about all of the rules of this. So Oda's not been super clear with all of the rules of this. Am I saying Imu? Oda's not been super clear with all of the rules of this. I don't know what I said. Did I say Oda? Whatever. Oda's not been super clear with all of the rules of this. I feel like... I don't know. I just can't imagine... Let me say this. I think I would lean... I don't know how you say in their primes or whatever, right? I don't know how you would say in their primes. I feel like Luffy and Zoro should have higher, I guess you could say, raw Conqueror's Haki capability than Gabon, but maybe Gabon has better control. I would lean at the moment to saying that Gabon probably doesn't have as good advanced Conqueror's Haki as Luffy when Luffy really is like, you know, clicking and on it. Because a couple things, right? Luffy, at least like with pure Conqueror's Haki, he was splitting the sky with Kaido. I don't know if Gabon at this age, if he could just split the sky with the Yonko. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he fucking does that with Imu next chapter. I'm just, you know, we're just speculating here, right? I think Gabon already, it feels like, oh shit, like he might have been, I don't know. We'll see, right? The other reason I think that I feel like Gabon might not have as strong advanced Conqueror's Haki as Luffy is because we saw, I feel like Gabon probably scales to Rayleigh, right? We saw Rayleigh versus Kizaru at Sabaody, okay? Kizaru is not an advanced Conqueror's Haki user. I think if Rayleigh was in his prime, he just overwhelms Kizaru right there with the strength of his Haki. But we kind of already saw that whatever Rayleigh's capabilities are right now, he can't just he can't just overwhelm Kizaru with advanced Conqueror's Haki. I personally feel like Luffy, however you interpret Luffy versus Kizaru, I think it's clear that Kizaru's not beating Luffy in just like straight up like fist to fist clashes, right? Like Kizaru was using his abilities more, like his speed, his lasers, stuff like that. You know, illusions, like stuff like that. You get what I'm saying? So, you know, maybe Gabon's aged better than Rayleigh. Maybe Gabon stayed in better shape. I wouldn't be surprised because Rayleigh kind of implied that he hasn't picked up a sword in years, whereas Gabon, I think it's possible he kind of stays in shape a little bit. He kind of gets around a bit more potentially. It's all speculation, right? All speculation. And it's also possible Oda's not hyper consistent with scaling, right? Oda just wanted Rayleigh to hold off Kizaru back then, so Rayleigh did. If Oda wants Gabon to hold off Imu right here, maybe that's just going to happen, right? If I were to just compare Luffy and Gabon's performance, or Luffy and Rayleigh's performances against Kizaru, and if, this is a big if we treat Gabon as interchangeable with Rayleigh, then I feel like Luffy's advanced Conqueror's Haki should be better, but I might be totally wrong. I don't know. I might be totally wrong on that. It's with stuff like this, it's so hard to tell because Oda's consistency with Haki is a little bit strange. Joseph eBay, thanks to 5. Had to run it back. New prediction. Usopp finds out Imu's been talking to Kaya behind his back and delivers a backhand to his face filled with Advanced Conquerors Haki? Sure. All right. What a great way to run it back, man. Usopp finds out Imu's been talking to Kaya behind his back and backhands Imu. That's funny. Tapir Treviso, thanks for 2. Rereading Kuma Flashback better than I remember. I like the Kuma Flashback a lot. I think it's great. Compare versus Sommers? Yeah, I mean, but Luffy versus Sommers, the tricky thing is, like, Luffy did a lot. Like, he did a giant fist and he grabbed lightning and stuff like that and punched Sommers. So that's not just his Haki, right? Yeah, I guess what I would say is that if I had to guess right now, based on what we've kind of seen, my guess is that Luffy has stronger Advanced Conquerors Haki right now than Gaban. But that could easily be disproven next chapter, and I wouldn't be surprised. That's all I'll say. All right. I know this is a little abrupt, and that this is not as long as our streams usually go. But unfortunately, for time constraints, I do have to call it here. I'll try and make Monday's stream a little bit longer. But let me get in some last few... If you want to get your predictions in, get in some last few predictions. Damian Wright, thanks for being a Pirate King to your member for 35 months. Pirate King podcast submissions are open if you want to get your question in and if you want to support the channel, of course. Killingham orders Zaza to drown the giant parents, which forces Sanji to awaken his Conquerors Haki and dispels the dream Zaza. Also, it seems the weapons gave the Gods Knights Conquerors. Damian Wright, I think that is a phenomenal prediction because it forces Sanji to face his like limits of can't hit a woman, but he's able to deal with like him being able to deal with it. His biggest restriction, like that would be so cool because essentially, like I've talked about in the past in like videos, Sanji, the biggest sign that Sanji's a Conquerors Haki user, as I realized over time because I was wrong, is his strength in his convictions, right? And his drive to basically be like, no matter what, I am going to stick to my moral code and find a way anyway, right? So the Zaza drowning, that would be such a good scenario, not because the parents drowned, but like Sanji essentially being caught between a rock and a hard place, and that he's like, I will save these people without budging on my principles. And then that leading to him, like that simple strength of conviction being so true to him, being what causes his Conquerors Haki to explode and come out, and thereby resolving the situation without actually have to break his principles is amazing. Love that. Killingham orders Zaza to drown the parents, triggering Sanji's... Love that prediction. I think I'm always really partial to predictions that feel like good writing to me. Rather, like, not even just about, like, good writing to me, right? Everything's subjective, but anything that feels like, oh my god, that would be great storytelling. I'm very partial to those sort of predictions when people bring them up. I think that's why I love the Usopp using Ragnar to freeze Luffy theory that came up last stream. Those are my favorite types of theories. Theories that it feels like if Oda went this route, I think it would be really good for the story. Grizzly Adams, 8277, thanks for the 5, man. Thanks, Grizzly Adams. Do you think Gaban, Rogers number 3, clashing with versus Rayleigh, Rogers number 2, confronting Blackbeard means anything towards their place in the story? Oh, I see what you're saying. Clashing with Imu versus Rayleigh, Rogers number 2, confronting Blackbeard means anything towards their place in the story. I'm not reading too much into that. I do think that Blackbeard ultimately will be the final villain of the story rather than Imu, as do many people. But I wouldn't read too much into like the power scaling logic of that, especially because Imu right now I imagine is way stronger than Blackbeard, right? I kind of just go with the default, which is that Rayleigh is probably stronger than Gabon, but I don't think it's by much. That seems like what's been implied in the story so far. Yeah, that's it. But I do think it's cool that Oda's having the two wings intervene to deal with the two big bads of the story. I think that's cool. Parallels. Yeah. All right. All right. All right, everybody. We are gonna call it a day. We love the Lord. This is Max. Yes, lol. Is this? Shit. Let me see. All right. I don't know if this is the max I'm thinking of, but all right. All right, everybody. We are gonna call it a stream here. I will talk to you all Monday, and yeah, I hope you